becoming a state senator. And one of the first persons I sought out for advice was Barbara Jordan. She made it very clear that, you know, the job I have here in Austin is not to, not just me, but persons who are legislators. The job that we have here is not for self-fulfillment, but to make certain that we serve the people.
I do remember as a girl growing up in Fifth Ward, I had the opportunity to hear her speak, and of course she was a very dynamic speaker. Everyone wanted to be like Barbara Jordan or to be in the arena where she was.
One of the things that Barbara Jordan's life said to me, if you don't succeed the first time, gain from that experience and start again only the next time more intelligently, because Barbara certainly ran a number of times before she was successful in being elected.
To me, she was truly a forerunner and a groundbreaker, not only for African American women, but for women, period, in politics in Texas.
While serving in the state Senate, Barbara Jordan convinced the legislature to repeal the Texas law requiring segregated burials in cemeteries as well as other segregation laws. Jordan was able to win approval for the state's first Fair Employment Practices Act, which made it unlawful for employers or labor unions to discriminate against employees on the basis of race, color, gender, or creed. During this time, the legislature passed another act that encouraged employers to hire handicapped persons. Jordan was responsible for legislation that increased the minimum wage in Texas to $1.25 an hour and passed legislation to increase teacher retirement benefits.
When Barbara Jordan walked into the Texas state capitol, it was a very challenging and difficult time in Texas politics. Texas has historically been a very conservative state, very right-wing state, being the first female and only female in that body. She had to learn how to operate in an environment where people didn't know her, probably didn't fully appreciate her, and she did it very well.
It was a new experience for her, but it was also a new experience for them. Because here comes an African-American woman who did not come to, in a sense, to bow down, but to represent the people who sent her there, and who felt that she was entitled to be there just like the rest of them.
When you walked in to talk to her, you know, you sat across the desk from her, and she kind of peered at you and kind of looked right through you. And, you know, when she talked to you, every word resonated.
Who couldn't be influenced by Barbara Jordan and her brilliant career and all of the things that she did, both here in the state of Texas and later in the Congress.
In 1972, Barbara Jordan was elected to the U.S. Congress, representing the 18th Congressional District, which is northeast Houston. She worked hard on civil rights issues and soon rose to national prominence by serving on the Judicial Committee's impeachment hearings of President Richard Nixon during the historic Watergate investigation.
Barbara Jordan was just a phenomenal legislator, and I can remember from the time that I was 10 years old watching her during the Nixon hearings and thinking, wow, what a voice, what an intellectual person. That's someone that I would like to be like, and such an ethical person as well.
For me, the most defining moments with Barbara Jordan was as I watched her and her performance during the Watergate hearings.
Earlier today, we heard the preamble to the Constitution of the United States. We the people. It's a very eloquent beginning. But when that document was completed, I was not included in that we the people.
Clearly her ability to make her point, to orate. I mean, a tremendous, booming, godlike voice, and a keen intellectual appreciation for the Constitution, and an ability that very few people have to take very complex subjects and make them understandable by common people, a talent that certainly Martin Luther King had as well. So she'd be in that league in terms of great American orators, having nothing to do with gender or race, clearly in a league by herself.
May I now present our second keynote speaker, the Honorable Barbara Jordan, Democrat of Houston, Texas.
In 1976, Jordan delivered the keynote address at the Democratic National Convention and again at the 1992 Democratic Convention.
We are a people trying not only to solve the problems of the present, unemployment, inflation, but we are attempting on a larger scale to fulfill the promise of America. We are attempting to fulfill our national purpose to create and sustain a society in which all of us are equal.
Barbara Jordan's speech at the Democratic National Convention was certainly a historic first because she was an African American giving the keynote speech. It was certainly a good speech, but in my judgment, not a best speech. I mean, the speech that she gave at the judiciary hearings when she had to compete with icons of American politics of the day, as well as news commentators commenting on what was said, clearly was the speech that I think catapulted her career and put her on the national scene.
She seemed to have won the hearts and the minds of the people of the United States of America. And a lot of people wanted to see her run for be a vice presidential candidate.
I know when I was listening to her, she was mesmerizing to me. Someone who spoke with authority, someone who walked with authority, and someone who commanded a great deal of respect.
Some people are born with greatness, and I think that she was one who was born to greatness.
Barbara Jordan suffered from a debilitating illness and eventually retired from Congress. Confined to a wheelchair, she returned to Austin and became a professor at the University of Texas. In 1994, she was awarded the Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian award. Barbara Jordan died in 1996, a private citizen with a very public name. President Bill Clinton delivered the eulogy at her funeral. She was buried at the Texas State Cemetery in Austin, the first black person to be buried there. Following Barbara Jordan was Mickey Leland, also a product of Houston's 5th Ward.
The late Congressman Mickey Leland and I grew up together. We met in daycare when we were 2 years old, and we had been friends. We went all through elementary school, through junior high school, through Wheatley High School, and then Texas Southern University.
Mickey also comes out of 5th Ward, just like Barbara Jordan. But he brings his own character and who he is. Mickey Leland was a different sort of personality than Barbara Jordan, but both were acutely interested in representing their districts.
Mickey was a pharmacy major when he was at Texas Southern University, and he was also a student activist. Most of his activism in his college days centered around voicing opposition against the war in Vietnam. So he ended up on the national, clearly the statewide circuit, speaking at major anti-Vietnam demonstrations all around the country. And I think that it was probably that anti-Vietnam activism that got him interested in running for the state legislature.
I worked for Mickey Leland when I was in school at Howard University, and no doubt about it, Mickey was a catalyst for many people looking at elected office because of how he did it. I mean, you know, Mickey showed that somebody could be themselves with an afro and a dashiki and actually represent their constituency.